peace summit for Russia and Ukraine, or the geopolitical partition of the great powers. Ladies and gentlemen, history always chooses unique stages to unveil its turning points. On an August night in Alaska, the sky blazed under the floodlights cast upon silent B-2 bombers and roaring F-22 fighters, as if heralding a new storm. In the midst of this spectacle of power, two leaders descended onto the red carpet at Joint Base Elmendorf-Richardson. Beneath the banner, Alaska 2025, Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin appeared not merely as heads of state, but as grandmasters, stepping into a geopolitical chessboard where each move might redraw the map of the world. No ceasefire, only calculations. The dialogue began in tense silence. Many had anticipated an immediate ceasefire announcement, but it never came. Trump abruptly shifted his strategy. He no longer wanted a temporary pause, but demanded a comprehensive peace treaty, strong enough to close the war entirely. His words cut through the air like a cold blade. There is no deal until there is truly a deal. In that moment, the ceasefire, symbol of fragile hope, was removed from the board like a discarded pawn. Diplomacy smiles beneath the shadow of strategic bombers. The image of the two leaders walking together, smiling under the roar of American warplanes, was at once a symbol of reconciliation and a bitter paradox. Putin praised the atmosphere of respect and constructive spirit, while Trump spoke of their wonderful relationship. Yet the smiles hid another reality. Journalists were barred from asking questions, and behind the curtain, Russian diplomats were already calling Ankara and Budapest, extending Moscow's regional influence. Each phone call was a strategic move, turning the summit from a bilateral meeting into a launching pad for a multi-layered diplomatic network. Ukraine, the land of perilous proposals. Amid the pleasantries, a heavy proposal surfaced. Moscow was prepared to freeze the front if Kiev ceded Donetsk. President Zelensky flatly rejected it, calling it a sweet-sounding trap laced with poison. Meanwhile, discussions about freezing the lines at Kherson and Zaporizhzhia continued, pragmatic steps toward a flawed peace. In this chess game, Ukraine was not only a nation, but a pawn caught between greater powers. Europe, voices echoing from the rear mode. As the summit ended, Europe's capitals spoke in unison. Paris, Berlin, London, Rome, Warsaw, Helsinki, Brussels. Their message thundered: borders cannot be changed by force. Ukraine must be included in any peace process. Sanctions against Russia will remain or even be strengthened. At the same time, the U.S. Secretary of State warned that both sides must compromise. A new scenario emerged. Washington might host a three-way summit with Trump, Putin, and Zelensky alongside Europe's leaders. Peace or partition, at this point, depended on which doors would open in the American capital. Imagery and traps. The Alaska summit will be remembered in images. Two leaders standing tall against the backdrop of B-2 bombers, like actors in a grand political drama. But behind the curtain, Putin secured three key points: pushing the U.S. away from the idea of an instant ceasefire, opening discussion of NATO-style security guarantees for Ukraine, and forcing the concept of frozen front lines onto the table. International commentators were divided. Some claimed Trump looked like a beaten man in body language. Others branded him the weakest president in welcoming Putin. Yet analysts also suggested that this high-stakes maneuver might compel Trump to return with a harsher stance, paving the way for renewed U.S. intervention in Europe. Climax behind the scenes. When the floodlights faded, Alaska sank into icy darkness. In a hidden chamber behind the summit hall, Trump and Putin sat face to face between two vast maps glowing with crimson borders. Every line marked a battlefront, every symbol, a life and death piece. The air was thick, broken only by a whisper. Freeze line, Donetsk, security guarantee. Here, peace was nothing more than a move on the board, and war could be only a pause between plays. Ladies and gentlemen, the Alaska Summit of 2025 did not deliver immediate peace, nor did it grant the world a ceasefire. Instead, it staged a drama where military might wore the mask of diplomacy, where promises intertwined with geopolitical traps. This was not an ending, but the opening of a new tragedy. Will it become the path to lasting peace, or merely the prelude to another partition of the century. History will be the judge, and we as witnesses will forever recall that night in Alaska, where the world seemed to pause on the brink of a covenant that might decide its future. Thank you for listening. If you found this video meaningful, please leave a like, share it with others, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel so we can continue uncovering the deeply human stories hidden within the smoke and fire of war.